everybody. Ben here for the Bonehead podcast, and we've got a bit of a mini meta for you. It's not the monthly meta, it's the mini meta, and we've got our Sevens correspondent, Stevie, the scientist. How you doing, buddy? You okay?
I'm doing very well, thanks, mate. How are you?
Very, very, very good. So, what we're going to do today is we are going to have a look at Sevens. We're going to look and see how teams are performing and how popular they are. We've had an absolute monstrous month of Sevens content, and there has been a monstrous amount of work put in by the scientist, our Sevens correspondent, to basically compile a whole bunch of data. So, dude, thank you so much for coming on.
No worries. Thank you for having me.
Wicked to have a chance to have a chat with you again. Before we go any further, you got to do the credit, man. How'd you get into Blood Bowl? How long you been playing Blood Bowl?
I've been practicing this. So I first got into Blood Bowl, I think, when I was around 10. My uncle brought it to my local gaming club. I played Norse with an awful build with one reroll, no Ulfwerners, and 16 players. It was a bad season. And then I sort of played on and off during uni. And then I went to work in archaeology, and you get to listen to a lot of podcasts, so I started listening to you guys and got back into it. And the way my mates work, we play like a tournament every few months of Warhammer or AOS. So I then we've done a couple of Sevens tournaments to get them into it. And then in lockdown, just smashed out loads of Blood Bowl 2 leagues with them.
Yeah. Well, I think during the apocalypse, that's what we got I think that was when we got our Roll20 games in, didn't we?
Yeah.
Yeah. Secret teams in Sevens. Oh, that was fun. That was outrageous fun.
It was so good.
That was good ways. No.
Ethereal's played as well as you think they would.
They've been completely changed. Have you?
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about it.
I'm not sure either. I thought what they'd do is make the linemen have hands, and then the positionals not have hands with the new wraith. But they just added a new type of wraith as well.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. I'd love to play it.
Yeah, we need to do some binging of the Secret Team League. But you know what? There's just so much Blood Bowl to be played, which is not a bad thing. Not a bad thing.
At all.
Not a bad thing at all. Okay, so we've dragged you on here, Stevie, to talk about the work you've been doing with Sevens, and I'd love you to just talk through. I think what I put in the show notes was like the what, how, and the why for it, and I'm intrigued by what you've been doing.
Yeah, so basically, when we had 2016 and those Sevens, it was around the time I think you did your Slanesh episode. You spoke about Sevens tiers, and that got me sort of thinking, properly what the tiers should be. So I collected the NAF data off the Tableau, and then went around looking at people's games that they posted on Facebook, and any other sort of data that I could find, and putting them into a spreadsheet and posted it in your Sevens Facebook group.
No, it is the Facebook group. It is a community. So if you guys are in the Blood Bowl Sevens Facebook group, you will see regular posts, and it's such good work corralling all the results, and I absolutely blew in love seeing when you put the comment out like, hey, who's been playing some games, and you just have like random person 75 be like, oh yeah, played a few games of this last week. It's just such a cool thing to do, because it's the
best. And like someone asked in another group, it's like, has anyone got any Sevens data? Someone goes, yeah, there's this guy called Steven, and it's like, people know me.
Yeah, you are the Sevens guy. I think there's two like key Sevens players. You are one of them, and of course the other one is George Christodoulou over in Oz.
He's a great help, honestly. He was like one of the first people who was like, this is my data from like 5 tournaments.
Yeah. The Sydney Bowl series is just the dream. It really is.
I might have to make a stop when I go see my brother in like a couple years.
Oh yeah, message George. I'm sure he can sort some Blood Bowl out with you. I think Australia's a bit far for me, plus also spiders.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah, not like I figured out my limit is 50 mil. Like if they can fit on a 50 mil base, I'm okay. 100 mil base, like what we had the other week, is a breakdown.
Yeah, I thought about that after the episode. You said 100 mil, and I was like, that's big. And then I got my base out, and I was like, that's huge. Yeah.
Honestly, like, not even in full combat, like in combat pose. Like it was just ready to go. I was like, this is. It was horrific. Anyway, that doesn't really matter. Really matter. So, you sent across the data. It's awesome. I've basically plugged it into the monthly meta format so that we can get it up on screen.
Cool.
But before we properly move into it, just how much data have you managed to compile? Like how many games?
So I'll go back to my input thing on my computer. So from the NAF, this is accurate as of the 22nd. I have about 2,070 NAF 2020 games, and I have that's hard maths. Probably about 3,200 league and friendlies, because I put them in the same input.
Yeah, I mean, it's all games. And the thing is with sevens is whether you're playing a tournament format or a league format, the build it's not massively different, is it? So actually, and most league teams, this is something I do think about, like regular 11s, most league games, they're 1100 TV, 1200 TV at most before people are like, I was a cool 10 games, on to the next team. So I think I'm hoping that at some point tour play or when break tackle goes live, we'll be able to see some data from that. Tackles.
That's a good point, actually. I hadn't thought of that.
It would be cool to see that. But now, I guess before we move on any further, I just want to say a big thank you to Mike Davies, who's Slann, who puts all the NAF data into the Tableau. I can't find how to get access to the NAF data. I keep saying I need to message him and drop him a message, but
do you mean like the raw games, stuff like that? I know how to get to the one for each tournament.
Is that how you...
Yeah, that's how I used to do it before all the Tableau started getting updated for 2020. I'd have to get those and take the games out.
Yeah, when we did Tournament Tuesday, that was how I used to do it as well. I used to go through the lists and I'd plug it in and everything, and then I was like, Blood Bowl got really popular again when the world reopened, and I was like, this is unsustainable. But good fun. Okie dokie. So loads of games, which is awesome, and I know that you're going to keep collating it. And you know, one of the really good things about the NAF is that your tournaments are all logged and collated, and there is a way to get some of the data, which is, you know, great for people like us who love like the meta and stuff like that. So what we're going to do now is we're going to look at sevens teams by win percentage, and as we go along, we're going to refer to the tiers as the standard Blood Bowl tiers, but you're going to flag up right when you think something needs a shift.
Yeah, when there's a change.
Okay.
Or when the data says there's a change, and we'll have a chat about it.
Even better. Right, let's cut to the other screen. There we go. Okay, so we are going to start with... I need to move my mouse. I need to move my screen. Here we go. Right, so we're going to start with the bottom teams. And this makes me really, really, really sad. So we'll bring up the first team. So in 29th spot, it is Goblins. Now... on the far left-hand side, next to the number 29, there will be an arrow up or arrow down, depending on the difference to their ranking in 11s. Sadly, and this is from my data that I robbed in August, I think. Haven't updated with the most recent one. That'll be coming next week. Goblins don't have a differentiator because they are last place in 11s, and they're even worse in 7s, 32.2%.
Yeah, I was thinking about this today. I think it's just that you can't fit as many secret weapons in as you want.
Yeah,
that's the main problem with them.
You got the cash, you just cut the positionals. I think it hurts some teams differently. In fact, there's a couple more teams we should probably move on to now. But 311 games, as far as the games played go, I think that's pretty reasonable amount, isn't it?
That's pretty good.
The sevens data.
Let's see, the highest actually I can just sort mine, can't I? Largest to smallest. So the highest is Skaven at 584, and the lowest is OWA at 138.
Hence why you asked us to get us a couple of OWA games on the sevens stream. No, Triplo was all over that. He was like, yes, I've got this, my calling. Okay, so if the top here is 500, then actually 311 is plenty of gameplay for Goblins. But I mean, I guess you can't take Bomber, you can't play star players in 7, so I guess they're still just struggling at the bottom. We'll tick a few up now because I think they sit in the same part. Halflings at 28 and Ogres at 27, 38% for Halflings, Ogres at 39.8%. both a few spots down from 11s. I mean, Ogres are really quite potent in 7s. And Halflings did really well in the first 7 Super Series. So it's interesting to see.
Yeah, I think I guess halflings are halflings no matter how many rerolls you get. I wonder how Ogres do in League, though. I can imagine low-cost linemen in a league where you can get inducements would help.
Oh, yeah, because you're going to be maxing out the Noblars most of the time, aren't you? So 8 Noblars, that's what, 120k. And you can probably essentially roster a desperate measure. So you're going to be pounding like 3 desperate measures a game, maybe even an extra reroll, which is just awesome because wizards. So the stunty teams seem to suffer in 7s. It makes sense because, like you already mentioned, there's a restriction on positionals. They can't get everything they want to get. And then we got Necromantic, which I was super surprised to see, down 11 spots compared to 11s at 26th.
Yeah, this is the one that gets everyone. Like, I almost want to flag it as a tier change because everyone says, oh, they should be tier 1. They've got werewolves. I think the problem with them, well, with this stat, is that they got played a lot when they first came out. So people didn't know how to use wraiths and were so used to using whites.
Yes.
And I think they're slowly, like, for a long time, their win percentage was less than goblins and halflings and ogres. They've only just crept out. Yeah. People are now getting used to them, but yeah.
Oh, that's really interesting. Yeah, Necro, I've always rated really, really well in 7s, but yeah, you got to be careful with the whites. No, with the wraiths. Yeah. Whites. Back in the day. Okay, next up we've got number 25, which is vampires. Only a couple of slots down from where they are in 11s, a percentage ahead of Necro. I mean, vampires are a very interesting team in Blood Bowl.
Yeah.
But I think they're still really unexplored as far as how to use them properly and everything.
Yeah, I tried a couple of games and I struggled. They were really good. When they were going, they were really good. But constantly having to remember to get people with them is a bit hard.
Yeah. Actually, you know what? That's a great way to describe ogres, halflings, goblins, and the next team as well, snotlings at 24, is when they get going, they're phenomenal. If you roll well with them and they're all good to go, they're great. Snotlings there, 5 spots down from 11s at 24. So all the stunty teams at the bottom. I love snotlings in 11s, but in 7s, just being only able to take 4 positionals is brutal.
These guys have actually only really dropped back down into tier 3. They were they were tier 2 for a long time. They were high 40% for a long time.
Is that the swarming change?
It's the swarming change, and it's Death Zone. Death Zone took away riotous rookies.
Yes,
so you can kill them, but they were constantly being replaced.
Yeah, and with the old swarming, swarming rules probably didn't make any difference, really. They will do for Underworld. But, riotous rookies, just being able to have an extra, 15 guys on your roster, unlimited extra snotlings, you're setting up with 9-10 players a time now. Ooh, you can do it, but only for the first half before you get melted.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I would say a point here, if you're running a 7s tournament and you allow riotous rookies, you might want to boost a tier of snotlings because they'll do really good.
I like that for ogres as well, actually, because it kind of fleshes out the roster where you can't quite afford it. Okay, so those are our bottom teams. We've got 3 more that I'm a little bit surprised at. We've got Undead at 23, Tomb Kings at 22, and at 21 we've got Ogres. So Undead down 12 spots, Tomb Kings down 18 spots, and Orcs down 8. Undead, Tomb Kings, low agility, expensive rerolls. They can be great, but that makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah. Obviously, Undead was unsurprisingly a tier change now, down to 2 from 1. Like you say, I think for them, it's the mummies are so slow. So while they are very good, they're never getting involved. And then they suffer the problem with their ghouls getting killed off. Yeah.
If the Undead team is taking the mummy build, then they are going to have a max, basically, of 2 Ag 3+ players. And Ag 4+ is all right, but only if you've got some kind of rerolls in there. Vanilla Ag 4+ is asking for trouble. You got Tomb Kings now. Now 45% win rate. This is where we kind of start getting to that like what is it? What's the term for Earth? Is in like the golden zone or something?
The Goldilocks zone.
Yeah, Goldilocks zone. Actually, I think is 45 to 55%. I think gives a nice pack. So TK. Now, interestingly enough, only less than 200 games for Undead and 150 for Tomb Kings.
Yeah.
I mean, Tomb Kings and Sevens is a challenge, and also it's hard to get hold of a team at the moment, right?
Yeah. The last Sevens tournament I ran, my friend ran Tomb Kings. He took 2 throw Ras, 2 blitz Ras, and took no Tomb Guardians. I don't think he did great, so I would suggest taking some Tomb Guardians.
That's the point of difference for the team. At that point, you're just playing a worse Undead team, really.
Yeah, he saved it for inducements.
Oh, exciting.
He saved all of his money for inducements, basically. He did all right. He did a great jump over a down to player play. It was great. But, yeah.
Yeah.
But I still think the strength will help. I don't know why orcs are so low. Loads of people ask, and I don't really have an answer.
Well, I got a theory with orcs, and we see this in 11s as well. The volume of games. So on the bottom, part of it, Necro 370 and orcs 328. Orcs are in the top 5 most played teams in Blood Bowl because they're kind of ubiquitous. There are lots of people out there that have or can get hold of for cheap the 2016 box set. Like, orcs are kind of just like an omnipresent team, and they're a good mid-range team, but they're also hurt by the positional limit. You know, a good orcs 11 team's got 4 big uns, 4 blitzers, right? In sevens, you pick your weapons, and we see the thrower a bit more. So it's an interesting one. So that's 21 through 21. So what percentage would you be calling tier 2 into tier 3? What would the barrier be?
So before, I used to have it that it was because the tier 3 team stayed at the bottom. I just said up to basically up to 50% was tier 2. When I did the posts on Facebook, I said any team that was below the tier 3 bracket, so that used to be Nurgle, Necromantic, and Undead and Vampires were the 4 teams that lingered in tier 3. I used to call them tier 2.5.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's hard to get that skill package in sevens, but as a sort of a differentiator.
Yeah.
So I was going to discuss with you. Do you think over 50% specifically? Because we'll see why later. Do you think that's an okay, reasonable way of saying tier 1 in 2020? Because you win more games than you lose. I
think that's a pretty decent delimiter. Point of difference. I think is probably not a bad place to be. I think historically it was like 55% is tier 1, 45% was tier 2, and less than that was tier 3. But the great thing about Blood Bowl is that there's 100 different ways of doing it. And I saw a Blood Bowl tournament the other day that had like 6 different tiers, and I'm like, I don't know what you're doing. You got Black Orcs in tier 1, like who hurt you? It was very strange. Okay, cool. So these guys are definitely sitting in tier 2. Undead, they're definitely getting a demotion down to tier 2. And let's bounce up and have a look at 11 through 20. You've just mentioned them. It's our boys Nurgle, who are overperforming 6 spots compared to 11's. 47.5 win rate, which is awesome, and 157 games. This is great to see because Nurgle they're kind of quietly subpar in 11's for most of the time, unless they're running Hack Flem or just trying to prove a point, which is what Nurgle coaches tend to do. Nurgle's the new Tomb King when it comes to that. All right, so we covered Nurgle. I feel like they've had a bit of... You kind of said that they were down below the stunties. Sounds like they've made a bit of a decent increase.
Yeah. Some people sent in a couple of leagues of sort of saying, no, Nurgle's at the top of our league, we're doing fine. I think you had a tournament. Wasn't it Beachhead where you had Nurgle absolutely smash it out the park? Yeah,
we had a couple of coaches there just determined to prove a point about Nurgle, and they did a superb job. So Nurgle up on the rise. Chaos as well, coming in at 19, outperforming where they are in regular. Bang on the same as Nurgle, which is interesting because Chaos have got better at agility across the board. So impressed to see that.
I think that is people sneaking trolls into Chaos teams because they can, and then realizing, because I've done this, I played a couple of games with Chaos with a troll, it doesn't work. the babysitting is not easy with you when you have ghouls and warriors.
I get the ogre, right? Bonehead is really good, but come on, if you are running a chaos team and you're taking a big guy and you're not taking a minotaur, come on, it's the way to go. It's the best way to do it. All right, this next team, super point of contention. It's the question everyone asks. Dwarves, how do they do in 7s? Well, they're 13 points lower than they are at 11s, kind of bang in the middle at 18, 47.6, same as Chaos, but a ton of people trying it out. 379. Huge for Dwarves.
Yeah, I think these are a lot of people who like Dwarves, but like their friends, so they play them in 7s. This is my next point of a tier change. Like, these are Undead, sort of being knocked down to tier 2. They are good. I've heard a lot of people say if you can position correctly, they're still just as formidable. But tiers are also supposed to show how easy a team is to play. So I guess they're not that easy anymore.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Dwarves dropping to tier 2 in 7s because they don't have the speed. I think that makes a lot of sense. Okay, next up we've got the 2 new starter box teams. 16 Black Orc, up 11 spots, and 17 Imperial Nobility, up 5 spots. Black Orcs, tons of game, 434 games. Huge. Yeah. Great to see these 2 teams. And again, kind of in the middle of the pack there, just a little under. 48% Black Orcs, 47.9% for Nobility. How much of that do you think is influenced by the commonality of the team? Because, that's a load of games between them.
Yeah, it's absolutely that. Like, when I go through, so part of my data gathering now is through Instagram and Blood Bowl 7 hashtag. So many of them are Black Orcs and Necromantic. Like, so many of them, they just want to play them, probably because they just got into it.
Yeah.
I don't know why people don't play Nobility as much as Black Orcs when they usually come together.
Oh, just Black Orcs, the game plan is simpler, I think. Plus, Strength 4. Strength 4 is just so useful in 7s. Even though we're seeing a lot of the Strength 4 teams, Orcs, Khemri, Chaos, Nurgle, Black Orcs in the middle of the pack, just shows that actually the balance there between Strength and Agility, it sits them about right. And talking of Strength 4, our boys Khorne here at 15, up 6 spots, 48.5%. I am absolutely loving Khorne in 7s. We filmed at least one game on our stream, and 7 Super Series, we've got the Golden Skulls coming through, and Strength 4 Frenzy in 7s is so much fun. Is this all new Khorne, or does it include old Khorne as well?
So, if you saw the last post on Facebook, that did include old Khorne, but the data I sent you doesn't. I have removed it.
Okay.
But the old Khorne was basically 50%. They had as many, pretty much. They had 6 more losses than wins, so it hasn't changed them that much. So this is, they have bounced around up into tier 1 and come back down.
Okay.
I think they are very strong in 7s.
Yeah.
I really want to see them played in 7s. I'm trying to convince my friend to play his at the next tournament because I just want to see them.
Yeah, I think when we did our predictions for South Coast, I think a couple of us were talking about Khorne, expecting Khorne to be either popular or do well in 7s.
Yeah.
So great to see them. Great to see them represented. As is Chaos Renegades, bang on the money at 50%.
This is why
so good.
Yeah, this is why I had to get the definition right of over 50%.
There's no way that they're tier 1, but the fact that they're performing better than all these teams is just awesome.
Well, you say that. When I started this, for the first 3 to 4 months, they were like 70% win rate. They just kept winning games, and I think it was one coach in America who was just doing work with Renegades. I love Renegades in 7s, and I think it's because you only have 4 positionals, but you only need the elf or thrower if you're feeling spicy, the goblin and 2 big guys. They're not hurt that much, but just having variations of linemen.
We had a great chat on the stream, actually, as someone was like, actually, I like running the orc in there. to be the meat that I just farm off as a zombie. But the Dark Elf Goblin and 2 big guys, that's the dream, right?
Yeah. I mean, I did that with my Orc in the BB3 beta. I did the exact same thing. Use him as the bait for the Rat Ogre.
Yeah. Oh gosh, yeah. Right. We got a drop here, which is, I think, going to shock. Well, I say shock everybody. I've just seen the win percentage. So Elven Union down 4 spots to 13, but a 52.1% win rate. Elves are always rated really well in 7s, and well, you think 13, they're not top 10, but actually 52% win rate is awesome for them.
Yeah, they're top half. This is again another tier change in my opinion. They haven't dropped out of tier 1 even throughout my definition changes, because they've just constantly done really well. I played them at the last tournament very badly, but that doesn't mean they're bad. It just means I need to learn to play elves.
And this is the great thing about 7s, is the different rosters will absolutely affect how they perform. So Elven Unions, I know there was a lot of comments in our Elven Union video about catchers versus blitzers. I like using the blitzers. I think that block and that armor gives them a bit more consistency, whereas everyone's like, dude, catchers with movement 8 are just god tier. Well, you know what, I don't think it matters which one you're going with. 264 coaches with a 52.1% win rate. Right, let's round out our middle 10. We've got Lizards and then Dark Elves. So Lizards at 12, Dark Elves at 11, and pretty much a ton of games. Dark Elves 53%, 440 games, and Lizards 460 games at 52.6%. Those guys are just tier 1, and in 7s that clearly translate, right?
Yeah, they're almost opposites of each other. They're both sort of mid-range teams, but one with strength 4 and the other with edge 4. So it shows that they are so similar. I'd like to do a personal shout out to Chameleon Skinks, who in my first game in the last tournament intercepted my elf pass. So that has really helped them, I think.
That's amazing. I literally was downstairs a minute ago painting a Chameleon Skink, so that's cool.
Nice.
I printed off the Brute Fun team. I've absolutely loved the Brute Fun team. Okay, so when it gets to this kind of like Lizards and Dark Elves, not really any surprise then.
No.
Maybe a bit of a
speed.
Yeah, maybe that they're not in the top 10, but let's have a look at a mooch at the top 10. Down 4 spots, but still in the top 10 is Chaos Dwarf, 53.8%, only 184 games played. Chorfs are great. There's no edge 4, but you've got some fast strength 4, you've got some block on there, you've got some reasonable linemen who are cheap enough. 184 games is quite few. I mean, that's got to be down to the fact that up until about 4 months ago, it was very difficult to find a nice Chorf team.
Yeah, I think so. I think actually, that is just it, because they've been doing solidly ever since we started doing the stats. And I think it's just they have that speed edge over their dwarven cousins. Yeah. It's interesting to see. There's a ton of spots in between them, but they've just got that access to agility. The next one makes me ever so happy. Slann in there, even better in 7s than they are in 11s. 54% win rate and 4 more players than Chaos Dwarfs. Yes. These were repped at the tournament. We were both kind of shocked that they were tier 1, given the lack of reroll access.
Their rerolls are cheap enough, though. 100k. They're affordable for 7s, I'd say. But yeah. Oh, but their positionals are expensive, aren't they?
That's the problem. So, whoever's winning those games out there, good job. Keep it up.
I think both of these teams are probably inflated by some really good coaches who love them. Like they've got proper teams, they love them, and when it comes to both of them, they've both got really strong upsides. I wouldn't have put them in the top 10 myself. I would have put them in that kind of middle bracket of good but not outrageous. And to be fair, they're below that. They're in the Goldilocks zone, although only just. Right, next up we've got the normies. We've got humans at 8, and I'm going to go ahead Norse at 7. So humans 12 points better in 7s than they are in 11s, which does not surprise me. Norse up 5 spots to 7 from 12 in 11s. 54.6% for Norse, 54.5% for humans, and 950 games between them.
I know.
That's an absolute monster. I understand humans, like we said with orcs, they're ubiquitous in Blood Bowl, but in 7s they've got a phenomenal passer, could be one of the best passers in the game, and they've got those blitzers, they've got access to a halfling, they've got access to ogre. It's such a flexible team. I'm not surprised to see them in the top 10, I think.
No, me neither. Like, I think the more mid-range teams do better in 7s because well, we haven't got to them yet, but Wood Elves struggled for a long time. But with humans, there's just a ton of... And also, they're so cheap. You can get a reroll. And if your whatever tournament allows you to have leader or a team captain, that's 2. And you're suddenly very reliable.
Yeah.
Unless you go against halflings.
You get the consistency all over the shot. Norse are interesting. I feel like they've taken a little bit of a hit with the drunkard rule, but I'm not sure if you've seen any movement over the last few months.
All I've seen is just the amount of games played. Actually, now I think about it, there's been more losses I've been recording than wins, I think. But yeah, they've been super inflated. I do have to point out, actually, the NAF doesn't differentiate between the New Norse or the Old Norse.
Yeah, no.
So this is a bit of a mix. I don't think it matters too much because most of it's the same. And the drunkard, like you said in the podcast, or one, was it Milton, about the drunkard not being important without the rerolls anyway? People not going for it.
Yeah, actually, that was a good point. I forgot he made that point because it was a good point. I should have remembered that point. That's good. Well done, man. That's bang on the money. But I mean, Norse, they don't have a passing 2+ piece. They don't have an edge 2+ piece. They do have the pass catch Valkyries now, who are just 3+ good at everything with dodge access, and they've got the Ulfwereners, who have got to be one of the best positionals in 7s.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the teams that have strength 4 piece. Okay, ignore vampires for this bit, but Norse, Chaos Dwarf, and Lizards, they're all their strength 4 pieces are like movement 6 or quasi movement 6 and higher. Yeah. And I think that just makes them really strong. Yeah, you bang on the Black Orcs and the big guns, movement 4, movement 5, Tomb Guardians, movement 4, Undead. Like, it's juicy to have that amount of strength, but in 7s, it's quite easy to avoid it. Now, a good team for avoiding things is that Wood Elf team you aforementioned. Not bad. Bang on the same as Norse at 54.6%. Yeah. They've never dropped out of tier 1, but they've barely stayed in it. Really? And it's so many games. There was one game on Instagram I saw where the poor guy had been reduced to 1 catcher at the start of the second half. And they just get deleted. Yeah. Now, that does absolutely happen with Elves, especially in 7s, where in 7s you can afford 2 war dancers and nothing else, or you give up 1 war dancer and take the thrower and a catcher, and then that's it. Like, you don't have a war dancer. They cascade quite quickly. They can fall in on themselves. But nice to see them still doing all right. 2 points better in 7s. This next team may shock you, and I love it. Is this real? OWA up 13 spots. Yep. 54.7%. OWA? Seriously? So I had to think about this a lot because I knew this was going to be a big point. There's 2 bits. First of all, you can basically play humans that are tier 2. Yes. You do sacrifice your reroll, but your skill package will be better. And you don't have to take any dwarf pieces. The other point is if you take dwarf pieces, you get a lot of block, so that's not your skills you're using. And your dwarves have loner, which doesn't matter in 7s. So actually, they're not that bad. No. The only bad point is the tree is very slow, so you're kind of forced to take the ogre, which on a theme point, some people don't like. Yeah, I know, but if you're not taking halflings, do you really need the tree? And if you're taking halflings, I mean, you've called it OWA in 7s because you don't have the reroll factor, you don't have loner factor. They're kind of humans with a troll slayer, which having that block and mighty blow
is a really good trade-off. And in sevens, you know, if you can turn that 2-die blitz into a 4-die blitz, and they got easy strength access, so you tend to see a Mighty Blow Troll Slayer as like one of the first upgrades to a Troll Slayer anywhere, then actually they can pound some removal. Then you've got Mighty Blow Troll Slayer, Mighty Blow Ogre, a brilliant thrower and a brilliant blitzer, and you've got like this little weird little A team.
Yeah,
I love it. That's so cool.
Yeah, I'm really happy because like I've wanted OWA for ages before they came out. And then they did, and I was disappointed. But they're doing great work. So yeah, obviously they are a tier change, but obviously to point out they have the lowest games played, so that can change.
Yeah, definitely. They're not massively popular, and I say they're hard to build. I mean, they're quite easy to build as a team, but you still have to kind of go out of your way. And the thing is, with a Renegades team, there's a lot of like interesting one-offs that you can like customize your team, like properly trick it out. With an OWA team, it's kind of like, and then there are dwarves, and it's hard to make it, I think, synergize. But I mean, that's so cool. Really interesting to note that so far 3 of the top 10 have been sub 200 games, so it could just be spiking hard. Talking of spiking hard, we've got Spike 15 coming soon with these fellows, the Amazons. This is where it gets a little bit egregious. 55.4%, 300 games, which is a very good data set. They're a little bit worse at sevens, but I mean, dodge everywhere, 4 blitzers in the old edition. We don't know what they're going to look like coming up soon, but Amazon's number 4 makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, another team that gets quoted as the best team in sevens. It could be the alternate to the best thrower in the game.
That's talking.
Sorry, a lot of people. Sorry, mate. A lot of people like them. I think a lot of this is obviously NAF games.
Yeah.
So skill packages will help.
And definitely. I mean, tier 1. The thing is with Amazons is they don't need a lot. They're cheap enough to get a reroll even at sevens. You know, even with the blitzers, basically. I think, and you know, you've already got 3 or 4 blodgers on your roster straight away. So I'm hoping we'll see that shake up a little bit. The Games Workshop do it. They shook up this next team, the Underworld, 57% in sevens, 280 games, bang on the money. Underworld are just absolute monster of a team in sevens. I love it.
Yeah, they're still good. A lot of people ask me why, and they're just Skaven with cheap alignment. It's, you know,
bang on the money. Bang on the money. And if you do have skill access, then actually Underworld can allow you to have some really filthy stuff. A two-headed gutter runner with 1 skill up is just a phenomenal thing. High Elves, second for 11s, second for 7s at 58.1%. I feel like High Elves were number 1 for 7s for a while. They were.
Yeah, it was, if I remember correctly, Pact, High Elves, Underworld, and Chaos Dwarfs early on were fighting for it. And then High Elves came back, probably when they had those other really big win percentages in 11s.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're still really good. They just don't have the weakness of being removed, like the Elves or Pro Elves.
You're bang on. I think we've talked about this one as well, but like when it comes to sevens, you got 4 positionals. You can take 4 great positionals on the Elven Union team, or you can take 4 great positionals with a little bit more armor on the High Elf team. And it's kind of like, well, they're just in that, you know, with the exception of Nerves of Steel, they're basically the same team, just with better armor. And, you know, again, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4 teams with less than 200 games spiking hard. Means there could be a lot of movement for this. Yeah,
it does. It really does. I know High Elves and Slann and Chaos Elves are technically close to being locked in, as Krista would put it, for their tier, but it can change. And the other thing with sevens is that you get a lot of draws. So even the teams that have had their tiers locked in for a while do end up changing, like Khorne. So it can be hard to judge.
Yeah, of course, because the more draws you get, your win percentage does decrease, you know, half rate, doesn't it? So that will kind of erode itself over time, which brings us to the rightful champions with,
of course,
584 games and a 60.9% win rate is the Master Race, Skaven.
Yes.
Just so good, man. I mean, best thrower in the game.
Obviously.
That's a monstrous amount of games. So 500, nearly 600 games, winning 60% of the time. You know, that's absolutely huge. So Skaven Underworld, both in the top 3. I mean, that might be a little bit too good potentially.
Possibly. Like I've seen them get deleted though. They're good and they win games, but you can beat them. They're not invulnerable.
No.
But the thing is there's a lot of Skaven coaches from before playing in 7th NAF tournaments who just know what they're doing.
Yeah.
So they're just really hard to beat.
No, absolutely awesome. That's so good. Before we kind of wrap up, I did want to just have a look at the top 10 most popular teams as well, because, well, it's just quite interesting. Although I have managed to make this wonky. Here we go. So top 10. Seriously, goblins at 10?
I mean, I'll check that on mine, but yeah, apparently.
All right, fantastic. Goblins, orcs, necromantic, dwarf, Norse. Okay, top 5. Black orcs, dark elves, lizardmen, human, and Skaven. All right, so goblins. This is all like the 300, 400 game club. Orcs and goblins, that's a lot of games. Could be deflating it. Necromantic, like you said, could be deflating it a bit. Dwarves, I think that's probably as good as they're gonna get. I do like the idea of dropping them to tier 2 in 7s. It might make them a little bit more juicy to play. One more skill, and because that can go in a positional, like that. Normally you give skills to a dwarf player or an Amazon player and they're going to go guard, and if you ban the amount of guard they can take, they'll go mighty blow instead. But actually, to be fair, if you give them skills in 7s, they're going to go mighty blow with the troll slayers. Yeah, I like it. Norse, super popular team. Black orcs, super popular team. Dark elves, lizards, proper tier 1 teams. Humans, ubiquitous. This top 10 makes a lot of sense to me. Apart from the goblins, but goblin players just, I mean,
they'll just play goblins. They don't really care what their win percentage is, and they'll play it in 7s because they can.
Yeah, goblin players love the Dark Knight movie, I think. They identify, and I think that's very, very, very fair. That's a brilliant piece of work, dude. That's so interesting to see. So, kind of moving on from this, you would advise that if you're running a 7s tournament, to adjust the tiers in this way? I think if you want to keep it simple and slim, and like the most popular ones, I would just drop elves down to tier 2. Down to tier 1 or up. I don't know how you want to say it. I know, it's weird, right?
Dwarves and undead going down to tier 2. Down to tier 2. And I think there was one more.
Let's
that
bounce
really
over.
Should be.
All the way to the bottom. Undead. Tier dwarf.
Oh, it was Slann. Slann were the other one. Slann were the ones that. So do like a swap, so you keep the amount the same.
Yeah, like relegation.
Basically. So Slann and elves going up to tier 1, and dwarves and undead going down to tier 2. Snotlings and Khorne, your mileage may vary and pact. Like, I wouldn't, because I think that's some good coaches and some good builds. But otherwise,
and you're right, and that's the beautiful thing about Blood Bowl is tournaments tend to be quite disparate in their rule set. So, and that's one of the best things about going to a tournament. You'll either take the team you love, take the team you need to paint, or look at the format and go, all right, I can game this, and they're allowing stuff for my Snotlings. They're going to make them even better, so I'm going to pound it in, and it makes a lot of sense.
Oh, and the last one, is OWA.
Definitely get them to tier S rank.
Tier 0.
Yeah, that's it. And I'm going to get your opinion on this one. I didn't prep you for this, but do you think there should be, like, we've got the 3-tier system, it works really well. Do you think there should be an S tier for, basically that top 4, top 5 teams?
So I used to, in the Facebook post, it was tier 1, 1.5, and 1 would be the S tier, which was 55% win percentage and above.
Yeah.
That has gone down. It used to be quite a few teams. It used to be about 10, and is now obviously down to 4. I think you could. Like, you just don't give them skill access, and they'll probably, all 4 of those teams would be fine without skill access, to be honest.
Really, really would, and that's it. But the problem is, as I was thinking about this, like, if you do that, all that's going to happen is people won't play them.
That's what I thought, and I thought the same for OWA. If you put them down to tier, or up to tier 1,
yeah,
people won't play them over humans, really, unless they really want to play dwarves and humans, like me.
Yeah. Like, live the dream. Yeah, I mean, at that point, you just kind of put Frenzy on a Blitzer and run humans with a reroll.
Yeah, so that's why I did say initially I'll just do the 2 swap.
Yeah.
And keep the rest the same, because even though the data says otherwise, like, we can interpret from that.
Interesting, dude. That's absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much for talking us through that and for collecting it together. If people want to check in with you, where's the best place to go to kind of to grab you?
Facebook Sevens group is the best place to grab me. Either message me through there, dump it on the posts I do. I try to do it when the monthly meta comes out, because that usually means the Tableau's been updated. And it also means I'm not spamming the group every month. But otherwise, if you're on the Bonehead Discord, you can message me through that as well. That's absolutely fine.
Fantastic. No, brilliant. Well, Stevie, thank you very much for jumping on, man. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate you sharing the data. And
of course.
I always hate talking sevens, so this was just terrible.
Oh, no. I know. Really had to drag me on for this.
Yeah. No, that's brilliant, mate. Well, thank you very much for jumping on. And guys, thank you very much for watching. We'll be back soon with more Blood Bowl content. Happy blocking. Thanks so much for watching. We really appreciate your support. If you want to support the channel even further, please like and subscribe. It really does help us out. Or come join us on YouTube Members or in Patreon, where you can get exclusive access to some content, some loot, early access to basically everything we do, as well as regular competitions. Or you can pick up some Bonehead Podcast loot either on our website at boneheadpodcast.com. We've got the Dungeon Bowl things, we've got tokens and stuff like that, or on our Spreadshirt site as well. Everything you do just helps us make more content and hopefully do it of better quality. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Happy blocking.